All right, we're ready for the remainder of the high resolution layout. Now, I should have explained this in the previous exercise. What we're after here is simply getting a little bit of formatting, basic wireframe formatting applied to our HTML blocks before we actually apply the full-on formatting that we have here inside Photoshop. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. We want to make sure that everything functions properly. We want to get all the wrinkles worked out, which obviously I'm encountering some wrinkles here, but it's all part of the process, right? So we want to get the wireframe formatting, if you will, applied first, make sure that everything functions correctly, which I have things functioning correctly here now inside Safari, which is great. And then we'll actually go through the process of applying formatting, which is going to be really, really easy and straightforward after we get through sort of this quick run through of formatting, if you will. So, as always, I think what I'll do here is I'll take a top-down approach. In this exercise, we will go after the header for our high-resolution layout. Okay, so we already have the master in place. We can see the master inside our browser, which is great. I'm going to click just after the master, and I'll hit enter a couple of times. Now, if you want, you can refer back to your HTML document. This is why I suggested keeping this guy kicking around in the background. Because after the master, of course, we have the header, and the header is, of course, an HTML5 element. Okay? So that's obviously important to remember or important to know so that we know what to go and do inside our external style sheet. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. So this is, again, inside the high-resolution media query. I'm going to type in header, just like so, because it's an HTML element. I don't need to precede it with a period or a hash mark or a number sign or anything like this. Just the name of the HTML element itself, header in our case. Okay? And then inside his squiggly brackets, we can go and throw in our formatting. So here we go. The width for this guy is going to be 960 pixels. All right? The height on this fella is going to be 130 pixels. Okay, there we go. And all I want to do is I want to throw on a background. And in my case, what I'm going to do, because we're sort of in this wireframe mode, if you will, is I'm going to throw in a temporary gray background color. So we're going to go RGB, and then in brackets, I'm going to go 200, 200, 200. Okay, and don't forget to throw in your semicolon on the end. Go ahead and save up your work and head back to a browser, whichever browser you're using. Go ahead and refresh, and there we go. There's our header now in place. Okay? Now, if you've never done this sort of thing before, this is what I meant earlier on. So earlier on, we got the building block header in place, but there was no structure for header. It was just a placeholder building block, if you will. Now what's happening is the CSS is saying, all right, I want you to span right across the entire width of the layout, 960 pixels, and I want you to be 130 pixels in height, and I want you to have a gray background color. And the header, the HTML5 element, simply says, okay, so I'll be, I'll have this gray background color, I'll be 130 pixels in height and 960 pixels in width. Okay, this is really the power of contemporary web design. This is what it's all about. Okay? All right, now with the header in place there, at least in a basic form, in a wireframe form, we can now go after the main navigation menu and make the main navigation menu look like a main navigation menu rather than a series of bulleted items.